A few weeks ago, my friend Cole Adams released a video on the Nike Pro Combat uniforms, and it got me thinking about some of my favorite college football uniforms over the past few years. This led me down memory lane and got me thinking about the throwback uniforms Under Armour released in 2019. While these may not blow many away, I have fond memories of these uniforms. Not only did my Wisconsin Badgers receive alternate uniforms through this program, something that is extremely rare as a Wisconsin Badger fan, as they like to avoid alternate uniforms, but I was also working at an Under Armour store at the time on State Street and actually got to meet one of the designers of these uniforms. The designers could not have been nicer, and it made these uniforms even more special. Today, with the help of my friend Cole Adams, I thought it would be fun to take a look back at Under Armour's throwback uniforms that celebrated the 150th anniversary of college football. Back in 2019, Under Armour decided to release the School Heritage line to celebrate 150 years of college football. These uniforms were meant to celebrate fans storming the field after the biggest upset wins in school history, heartbreaking losses that ended undefeated national championship campaigns, Heisman Trophy winners forever immortalized, and the introduction of a 4-team playoff. At least that's what they wrote in their press release. They went on to write, Under Armour is highlighting the heritage of 12 partner schools with historically inspired uniforms, sideline apparel, and fan gear. The 10 schools that will wear the exclusive uniforms are Boston College, Cincinnati, Colorado State, Maryland, Northwestern, Notre Dame, South Carolina, Texas Tech, Utah, and Wisconsin. Temple, Navy, and Cal would also announce they would wear throwback uniforms as well at a later point, meaning 13 Under Armour partner schools released special apparel and uniforms for the season. These uniforms were not meant to be flashy or futuristic like many alternates at the time were. Instead, they were meant to look back in celebration of special teams and seasons. In this video, I want to look back at all these uniforms and explain what makes them so special. The first school I want to talk about is Boston College. The Eagles chose to create their heritage uniforms based on the 1984 uniforms when they finished the year 10-2 and beat the then ranked 12th ranked Miami Hurricanes 47-45 on Doug Flutie's famous Hail Mary. This would not be the first time the Eagles honored the Doug Flutie team, as they had done so in the Shamrock Series against Notre Dame and a few times throughout 2018. This would be the same design as the 2018 uniforms, but was updated with Under Armour's Armor Grid template. In my opinion, these uniforms are clean, and the story behind them was a perfect example of what makes college football so special. Cal decided to go back to the 1970s with their uniforms, honoring former Cal quarterback Joe Roth. Every year, the Golden Bears play a memorial matchup to honor the young quarterback who passed away at the age of 21. These 1977 inspired uniforms were the same uniforms worn back when Joe played for the Golden Bears. The retro helmet decal and the logo that sits at the upper left of the pants, coupled with the color and vintage sleeve stripes, gives the team a nostalgic look that memorializes a Golden Bear great. The bright yellow and blue uniform was worn in their matchup against USC, a game they would lose, but they remain one of my favorite Cal uniforms that have been released over the past few years. To talk about Cincinnati's uniforms, I would like to welcome my good friend and Bearcat fanatic, Cole Adams. Cole runs an amazing college football YouTube channel and is actually someone who inspired me to start my channel, so make sure to go check out his channel. The link to his channel is in the description below.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I greatly appreciate you asking me to be a part of this. Special jerseys mean a lot to me. So when Under Armour came out with these during the 2019 season, it felt a lot like the Nike Pro Combat releases that we got in the early 2010s. Now, Under Armour became the uniform sponsor for Cincinnati in July of 2015, starting off with a special 100th year anniversary uniform to honor Nippert Stadium, which I loved these. But in 2019, Under Armour created a minimalistic uniform that paid homage to the clean jerseys of the past, with a all-red look featuring black and white stripes on the shoulders and the side of the pants, along with a white helmet with a red and black stripe. Now, Cincinnati was scheduled to wear these against Miami of Ohio, and if I remember correctly, they also wore these against UConn. The pride of the Queen City uniforms were inspired by the Bearcat teams from the 50s and the 60s, and the school also brought back the iconic retro Bearcat logo for sideline gear with these uniforms, and if you see right here, I own this jersey, and that little logo is down at the bottom of the jersey. I feel like Under Armour did a great job with their uniforms over the years, but they've started to slow down their relationship with many schools, including Cincinnati, who is now with Nike. So I look back at the 2019 150th anniversary set with great fondness because it was a pretty cool year.
Thanks again, Cole, for joining me. Colorado State's uniforms paid homage to their 1893 uniforms and the uniform combo they wore until 1945. The alfalfa, green, and Aggie orange were used as a nod back to the school's agricultural beginnings. Each shoulder has a block A, representing the school's original Aggies nickname, which can also be seen painted on the hill above Canvas Stadium. According to Under Armour's press release, rounding out the uniform is a green helmet dominated by large orange ram horns. The school's mascot, Cam the Ram, was named in 1947 from an acronym of the university's former name, Colorado Agriculture and Mechanical College. The school changed names to Colorado State University in 1957. The day they chose to wear the uniforms, September 21st against Toledo, also marked the 38th Ag Day, which was a tradition that began in 1981 to showcase the important partnership between CSU and the commodity partners within the state, and to honor the school's deep-rooted connection with the state's rich agricultural history. These uniforms are definitely different, but I have gained an appreciation for them after researching them for this video. Maryland's throwback uniforms were worn during their homecoming matchup against Michigan and were used to pay homage to Terrapin legends of the early 1980s. Players who wore this uniform were Boomer Esiason, who set 17 school records and led the team to an ACC title before a storied NFL career, head coach Bobby Ross, who turned Maryland into one of the country's top programs almost immediately after taking over as head coach in 1981. Under Armour wrote in their press release, their bold and fearless gameplay is embodied by the powerful red jerseys that will drape the players' shoulder pads on game day. They used their iconic script to write out Terps on their helmet, jersey, and pants to pay homage to the design created by Ross when he took over as head coach. Although they used Under Armour's innovative Armor Grid 2.0 technology, they were still able to replicate the 1980s era mesh numbers with the classic black, white, and gold striping on the sleeves. While Maryland had become Under Armour's version of what Oregon is to Nike with crazy uniform combos, these uniforms felt clean and classic, which fit what Under Armour was trying to do with this program. Navy wore their heritage uniforms during the annual Army-Navy game and were inspired by the 1960s uniforms honoring a pair of Heisman Trophy winners in halfback Joe Bellino and quarterback Roger Staubach. The helmets were gold with a black face mask and an anchor on either side, and had hand-painted details to make them appear time-worn. The helmet also had the numbers 12 and 27 to honor Staubach and Bellino. These uniforms were inspired by the ones worn by the midshipmen when they achieved a number 2 ranking in the AP and UPI polls in 1963. That year they fell to eventual national champions Texas in the Cotton Bowl. They wore a navy blue jersey with a gold shoulder stripe, number, and pants, giving it a classic look. These uniforms are some of my favorites, and Under Armour never fails to impress me with the Army-Navy game uniforms, something I always look forward to being released. Notre Dame's heritage uniforms were worn on November 23rd against Boston College and were designed to honor the 1988 Fighting Irish National Championship team. The team went 12-0, finishing the season perfect, something every team strives to do. Like the Maryland uniforms, these uniforms featured the mesh look over the number, a throwback to the 1980s, while keeping the uniform clean with the gold helmets and Notre Dame's logo on the shoulders. These uniforms were not groundbreaking and were not a major change-up. Under Armour decided not to recreate the wheel. They kept it simple. They were clean and classic, which fit perfectly with how they honored the 1988 National Championship. Sometimes this is all you need from a throwback uniform. Northwestern's uniforms were worn against my Wisconsin Badgers the same day the Badgers wore their heritage uniforms, which I will talk about in a little bit. These two teams decided to keep the same style for their uniforms, giving it a classic uniform matchup when I got to see it live and in person. Northwestern wore the white jerseys with a large block purple NU on the chest. The same block NU was used on the helmet, this time in white font with the purple helmets reversing the jersey colorway. The Wildcats chose to go with purple pants. This uniform was designed to mimic the uniform look the team used in the early days. Many people's favorite aspect of this uniform was the design on their gloves, which featured the Wildcat wearing a leather helmet, which was the program's primary logo from 1959 to 1967. They really got to pay homage to multiple eras of Northwestern football with this uniform combo. South Carolina's uniform paid homage to the uniforms worn by standouts Sterling Sharp, Todd Ellis, and Brad Edwards during the mid-1980s, and a garnet helmet that was a throwback look. This was probably one of my favorite uniform combos because I love the look of a good black jersey. Like with the Notre Dame and Maryland uniforms, the Gamecock uniform also included the classic mesh look on the numbers and just felt like something straight out of the 80s. Their garnet helmets paired nicely with the black jerseys, with the black and white stripe down the middle along with the Gamecock logo. When this uniform was announced, it marked only the second time since 1999 when South Carolina wore the garnet helmet. The other time being in 2015 when they played Clemson. These uniforms paid homage to the Black Magic and Black Death teams of the 1980s. The number appeared on the shoulders rather than the sleeves though, due to the jerseys being much shorter nowadays. Temple's heritage uniforms were a look inspired by the ones they wore on New Year's Day 1935 in the first ever Sugar Bowl against Tulane in a game played in New Orleans. Temple was coached by Pop Warner at the time, and they rocked a crisp white jersey with a crisp white helmet. They wore cherry red pants. While Temple football has not found that same type of success since that fateful day, these uniforms are a nice recreation of a classic look. Before I created this video, I actually never knew the Owls had been coached by Pop Warner, nor did I know they played in the first ever Sugar Bowl. Texas Tech wore their heritage uniforms for their homecoming game against Iowa State. I could not find a lot of information on these uniforms, but what I do know is they were a throwback, which is obvious for this video. There were no articles marketing these uniforms, but I felt like they were a clean look with a bright red jersey and a white helmet that featured stars on them. They're a classic look, something that feels like it's from the 70s or 80s. Sorry I don't have much more information on them. Comment below if you know more about these uniforms. I'm really sad I could not find more information on them. Utah's uniforms brought back a look they had not rocked since the 1960s. These uniforms paid homage to the 1966 and 1967 teams, which showcased a beautiful silver helmet and a pant combo that sticks out compared to the other uniform looks. The helmet also featured the interlocking U's logo and featured the curved Utes on the sleeve, throwing it back to over 5 decades ago. These uniforms were worn against UCLA for their homecoming game. The silver helmets are such a cool look in my opinion and stick out like crazy. Lastly, there are the uniforms worn by my Wisconsin Badgers. I felt like these uniforms were a little boring with the UW on the chest and helmet like Northwestern had on their uniforms. Wisconsin matched this up with a white helmet and red jersey. What really made this uniform stick out was the fact that they wore khaki colored pants, paying homage to the look worn by the early Badger teams of the 1890s. One thing that really made this uniform stick out was the gray face mask they had as well. The pants featured a W encompassed within a circle with the same logo appearing on the palm of their gloves. While these uniforms are not my favorite, especially from the Heritage program, I felt like they looked much better in person. The Under Armour Heritage program will always have a special place in my heart and will take me back to the simpler days of college. I feel like a lot of these uniforms flew under the radar at the time and they did not get the recognition they deserved. It was a perfect program used to write a love letter to the 150 years of college football that had come before it. The design team also could not have been nicer. What do you think? What was your favorite Heritage uniform from 2019? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks again to Cole Adams for not only inspiring me to make this video, but joining me on this video as well, so make sure to check his channel if you had not already. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more college football content. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.